everybody, welcome back to A Tale. Today we're going to be reacting to true hostile horror stories. Okay, hold on, I think that's just the title of this story. Okay, my lights are on because I'm doing this by myself. And I will text everyone in my apartment building to come in here if I get paranoid. So the lights are on, baby. Let's do this.
This happened when I was studying for my master's back in 2019 at Amity University, Calcutta, India. Let me tell you a bit about myself. I am a girl, and I have recently completed my master's, and am now doing a job, and I am from India. I don't really believe in the paranormal or whatsoever, but I really don't know how to explain this experience of mine which I had back then.
Hey, Mama.
This one is perhaps one of the most scariest encounters I have ever had. Let me know what you think this could be. Well, let me start off with my experience. So, back in 2019, when I was doing my master's at Calcutta, I stayed in the hostel, which was inside the university itself. My room was a decent one. Let me tell you how we had our accommodations in the hostel. Every room had 2 compartments in it, where 2 people could share a single room. So, without further ado, let me directly come to the experience. So, it goes like this. One night, me and my roomie prepared to sleep.
Why does she look so scary?
And we had turned off the light and got into our beds. We bid each other goodnight and went off to sleep. After a few hours, I was a little disturbed in my sleep because it felt like something was licking my lips. I opened my eyes a little to see what it was. To my horror, here comes the scary part of it, there was a black shadow-like figure that was sitting on the floor beside my bed and was licking my face. I was too horrified at this. I froze, and I couldn't move my hands or feet. I was there, laying motionless on the bed, watching the strange figure right there.
Good old-fashioned sleep
Then I
paralysis.
saw it get up and run towards the wall and disappeared in a split second. I was so shaken by this that I just froze there, unable to move in horror. I looked at my roomie. She was fast asleep, and I didn't want to wake her up. Then, slowly, I got up and sat on my bed, imagining for a while what could have possibly happened. Then I drank some water, and went towards the shelf and took the small idol of Lord Ganesha, Hindu god, worshipped in India, and clutched it tight in my hands, prayed to God, and kept the idol under my pillow and went back to sleep. I haven't really shared this experience with anyone, and whenever I think of it, it gives me the chills to this very day. Was it sleep paralysis? Or something paranormal? I don't know. All I know is, whatever it was, it's a complete mystery.
Ah, that was ew. Ouija board horror story. Let's do that. Nice.
Hi, my name is Purana from India.
I've always
and
wanted
this is
one.
a real scary story of my life. This happened to me on the 13th of August, 2020. Don't think this is a lie. What I am saying is true. This is a real story of my life. During the pandemic, while the lockdown was all over the world, I was super bored at home. I was getting lazy. I didn't know what to do because I have no siblings and my cousin's house was far. I watched a lot of horror things on my tablet and really enjoyed them, but especially the Ouija board videos. It's super creepy and cool, and I was thinking I should try it. I told my dad I need it, but he just said, "No, dear, because this is so creepy, and this is a total lie, and this is also expensive," which was a real bummer because I really wanted a Ouija board. But then I got an idea. A lot of things, like games, show up in the Play Store, so maybe I can find a Ouija board app there. I first searched in mobile, but the screen is so small. Then I decided to download the app on my tablet because that has a bigger screen, right? So I downloaded it and opened the Ouija board app. I was so excited to start playing with it. There were a lot of instructions about how to talk to the spirits respectfully. For example, the instructions said to ask, "What is your name? Where are you from? How old are you?" Things like that. So, okay, that seemed easy enough. I started to play and asked the questions that the instructions said to ask, but I was so curious. So I asked, "Will you kill me?" Suddenly, the screen was covered in blood, and I was so scared that I said goodbye quickly. Looking at the reviews, I saw one of them that said, "I was playing this game, then I said goodbye immediately. I went to sleep and got up at 1:18 a.m. and I saw a figure in front of my window. I was so scared. I pretended like I was sleeping and the figure went away. I was so scared, hoping it wouldn't happen to me, but I thought I was different." That night, I was sleeping in my bed with my mom, while my dad slept in another room to work on his computer for office work. I slept well, but woke up in the middle of the night. I looked at a clock, and it said 1:27 a.m. I thought I was safe for a moment, that I'd slept through the time the review said, and then I saw it. The review said they saw one figure, but I saw three. 3 girls. One was a small girl holding a doll, and another girl had nothing in her hand, and they were watching me. They were so scary, with big wide eyes standing in front of the door. It was locked, and I tried to wake my mom up by shaking her. I couldn't get any words out. When my mom opened her eyes, I tried to show her the figures, but they were gone. How? My mom asked in our native language, "What happened, Tobu? Why did you wake me up?" I said, "Nothing, Mom. I just saw a cockroach, and it is gone, so don't worry. Go back to sleep, Mom." She was confused at first, but went back to sleep. I barely slept all night, and when I got up in the morning, I deleted that Ouija board app and went to brush my teeth. When I looked in the mirror, I saw a massive scratch on my face. Only one scratch. I don't play horror games with my relatives or others now.
I'm 25 years old now, and the experiences I'm about to share took place when I was 5 to 6 years old. At that time, me and my family were in a different state. My father worked at a local factory, and we used to live in company quarters. It was a small apartment, had a living room, 1 bedroom, a kitchen, and a bathroom. I don't remember much of my childhood there, but this thing I vividly remember. I still don't know if it was a sleep paralysis or a nightmare. I would frequently see some people during nighttime. This only happened a dozen times if I remember correctly. I sleep with my parents. As I told earlier, we had only 1 bedroom. These people would just walk around or perhaps just look at me. They don't intend it to harm me or frighten me. Whenever I see them, I can't speak and I couldn't get up, but I could turn my head and move my arm. The next thing I'm about to tell you is a bit hilarious. The only thing they did to me is tickle me. Yeah, I know I might be crazy, but that's the truth. Whenever I woke up at night, I just see them there, either just walk around the room or just look at me, or sometime even give little tickles. They were dark-toned and I don't remember seeing their faces, but I remember that their skin was rough and thorny, much like a croc skin. Now, I'm about to tell the experience I remember the most. As usual, I woke up in middle of the night. Mom and Dad were fast asleep. I sleep in between them as we had only 1 bed. And there they are in the kitchen, which is attached to the bedroom. We had a gas stove. And there were 2 of those people doing something on stove, turning their backs on me. As usual, can't make a sound, but I can move my arm. First, I tried to call Mom by poking with my hand. As I was about to do that, somehow one of them sensed it and turned and looked at me. I froze, didn't move a muscle. After he turned and returned to whatever he was doing, I decided to poke my father. As anticipated, when I was about to do that, the same guy sensed it again and just looked at me. Perhaps he was to warn me. Then, everything went black. This was one of the few experiences I remember. But I'm sure they didn't harm me in any way, but they tickled me, which I disliked. I don't think I told my parents about them. Eventually, I also called them a name. I I don't know when, how, or why I came up with such a name. I clearly remember the name though. I'm not saying that here. It's in native language and actually is a childish name and embarrassed to say it here. But the name is more synonymous to false god or false holiness. One other thing I remember is whenever I see them, I was not overly fearful or panicked. On the other hand, I was desperate to make them leave as I hated those tickles. After my 6th birthday, my father got transferred to a different place and we moved to another state and I didn't see them again. As I grew up, I came to know about sleep paralysis and lucid dreaming and accepted those as possible explanations. But something still fishy, as I described their bodies in feeds. For a 5-year-old to imagine things with such details is impossible. Those scaly, thorny exteriors and the sequences they occurred can't just come from a 5-year-old's imagination. Well, I leave it for you to decide what it was. By the way, I'm still very ticklish to this day. Hypersensitive to tickles, actually.
My name is Alex, and at the time of me writing this incident occurred 1 week ago. For the past couple of months, I've been learning German because I thought it would be fun to learn another language. Never would I have expected it to save my life. I live in Maryland, and in my county, I attend school in person instead of virtually. Ever since I started going to high school, I've decided I should walk home because I personally enjoy taking walks, and I figured it would help me with the stress of high school. So like any other day, I started my walk home after school. I had my earbuds in, and I was walking home mostly looking at the surrounding trees and the passing cars. Around 15 minutes into my walk home, I heard 2 voices behind me. From what I heard, it sounded like 2 middle-aged men. I didn't think much of it, but I took out my earbuds just in case they tried to talk to me, so I could hear them. I noticed they were talking in German. Being nosy and wanting to put my German to the test, I focused on them talking to each other. I started to feel worried because I kept hearing them saying, "the boy in front." The sound of passing cars didn't let me hear them entirely, but I did hear them say one sentence that made my heart drop to my stomach. One of the men said, "We need to get him quick before he gets away." Because I heard this, I glanced back, only for a second, and I saw the 2 men potentially about to kidnap me. One was a tall white man, and the other was an average height white man. They were both dressed in all black with their hoods up, and also wearing black face masks too. When I looked at them, they immediately looked at me, their eyes piercing through mine. I pretended like I didn't suspect them of anything at all, even though I knew exactly what they were planning. I started to pick up my pace gradually, and apparently so did they, because I could hear 2 pairs of footsteps slowly getting louder. Next, I did something I could only describe as stupid. I stopped and turned toward them, facing them directly, and they abruptly stopped as well. I had a good look at them now. They both had their face masks all the way down, and they both had a smile stretched from cheek to cheek. The most creepy thing about the 2 was the fact that even though they were smiling, their eyes still burned right through mine. It was honestly something you would see in your nightmares. I stood as still as a statue until I heard the tall one shout in German, "Grab him now!" I immediately started bolting down the sidewalk, trying my best not to look back. However, the urge to look back was very strong. The moment I looked back, I saw the shorter one basically inches away from my face, extending his arms out, trying to grab me. That only gave me more adrenaline, and I started to run, not stopping to take a breath until I couldn't hear the footsteps anymore. When I felt safe, I looked back and I saw the tall one making an angry gesture, while the other one, instead of doing something more predictable, let out a blood-curdling scream, almost animal-like. That one really scared me, and I don't think I'll forget that one for the rest of my life. I watched them both run the opposite direction. I didn't feel safe going back home until I saw that they were out of sight. When they eventually got out of sight, I ran some more until I got back home. I immediately went upstairs because I would feel useless mentioning this to my parents. Because number one, they were dressed in all black. Number two, I had failed to get a good picture of the two in my head, despite seeing their faces for so long. Not to mention, I was also scared that somehow they might have found me. I sure as hell won't ever walk back home again. I don't think I'll ever forget that moment I turned around, only to see their horrifying eyes looking through me. Another thought that haunts me is, what would have happened if I didn't understand German?
We're going back at least 10 years.
Sorry, my controller turned off. Well, everyone, that's the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!